previous verse pointed us to the positive aspect of realization. It left us established in suchness. In terms of the conventional mythology around enlightenment, it's supposed to be a kind of permanent event. Once you're enlightened, that's it, end of story. But the perspective given here is that it's simply the beginning of spiritual practice, or what I would more accurately refer to as enlightenment practice. It's something that once it's happened, we have to make an effort to keep coming back to it, because there are many forces in play which can not only detract us from it, but cause us to forget about it altogether. And one of these forces is language. Verse 175 tells us that language belongs to the realm of thought. The truth becomes thus wrongly represented. Transcendental knowledge, and this is prajna, being discriminated by thought, falls into a duality. Therefore, transcendental knowledge is something not imagined. So there are two aspects here. There's ordinary conventional reality, which is based on thought, it's based on notions, it's based on language. That's it. That's it for conventional reality. There's nothing else behind it. It's notional or imaginary. And when we talk about realization, when we talk about enlightenment, when we talk about enlightenment practice, well, we're using language, and this is the language of duality. So we have to be careful, because transcendental knowledge or insight, prajna, is not something imagined. I think the structure of this phrase is a little bit misleading, but the point is to not confuse talking about reality with reality itself, not to confuse the finger pointing to the moon with the moon itself. Talking about realization is not the same as realization. Talking about waking up is not waking up. When you're fast asleep and somebody is shaking you and telling you to wake up, well, you don't want to incorporate that into your dream. This is what dreams often do. They incorporate sounds going on as elements of the dream. And this is what often happens with spiritual teachings. They get incorporated into the world of delusion. The danger is that you then start believing you've got access to the truth. The only point of spiritual teachings is to remind us to practice, to remind us of the nature of the situation. We mustn't incorporate them into our everyday reality. They mustn't become simply part of our lifestyle. If they don't remind us to wake up, then simply put them aside. But if you're taking these teachings as guidance to how to live a spiritual lifestyle, well, the point's been lost completely then. You're simply focusing on the point rather than on where it's pointing. Verse 174, for example, pointed us to suchness, to what I tentatively refer to as a sense of being. So come back to this. Come back to this. Realize its nature. Put the thoughts into the distance. Verse 176 tells us that as far as the duality of being and non-being extends, there is the realm of intellection. When this realm vanishes, intellection completely ceases. So when you've woken up, you hardly give a passing thought to the dream. In fact, the chances are you'll have forgotten it altogether. And you don't need to bother trying to remember it because it's gone. It's past. You get on with living. The duality of being and non-being is simply the discriminating mind in operation. This is intellection. This is the intellect. It's what we do. It's how we construct the pattern of our reality. We've all got our own individual pattern of what reality is. It's a mixture of thoughts and feelings which fuel beliefs. This is what removes us from suchness. It's what dissipates our sense of being. And in verse 175 I talked about these forces which dissipate that sense of being. These forces which occlude our realization. In this realm of intellection, it's like a big cloud which blocks the sunlight. And being and non-being is that basic belief that things come into being and then they go. But from the perspective of prajna, of transcendental insight or knowledge, nothing ever acquires reality. Nothing ever is born. There are simply a lot of appearances going on. Appearances described in verse 173 as like a mirage. Castles in the air. The wheel made by a revolving firebrand. So as verse 177 says, when the external world is not grasped as real, there is neither causation nor reality. There is the essence of suchness, which is the spiritual realm of the wise. I think there's a spelling mistake here, it should be tathata. So when we stop grasping the external world as real, stop believing that it's a world of objects interacting with each other, of independent objects and entities interacting with each other. This is a causation. We become more and more established in suchness, which is not the realm of intellection, it's the realm of the wise. It's the realm of the enlightenment practitioner.